Hi, guys, and welcome to an interview today with Rosh from Milan University. My name is Sarah, and I'm from Sapienza, and we are doing this interview as a part of our website, Academat, where we're trying to better inform students making choices to enter medicine in Italy, right?
Perfect. I couldn't said it any better myself.
Okay, so this is a two-part interview. In the first part, we're going to discuss the university and everything in relation to it. And in the second part, we're going to kind of talk to Rosh more about his personal experience with medicine, how he prepared for the IMAT, and how living in Milan is in general. And I would really, really urge students to watch the second part as well, because you need to realize that you're going to be living in Italy for 6 years and you should make your choice not based on the university, but on the city life and how it's going to fit and suit you. So, with that said, would you like to start with anything, Rosh, or should we just get straight into it?
Let's get straight into it. I think you hit all the points succinctly.
Okay, so why don't we start by talking a little bit about the timetable that you have in Milan University?
So the timetable varies a lot from year to year, but pretty much predominantly all lectures will start at 8:30 every day from Monday to Friday. And in the preclinical years, you can expect most days to go on from like 8:30 to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with an hour break for lunch and about 5 to 15 minutes breaks in between lectures, which last for about 2 hours apiece for each time slot. So, say if you have a human body, which is the anatomy module for 2 time slots, that'll be 4 hours, and they'll probably give you a half an hour break split up over 20-minute break split over 5 minutes for those 4 hours.
Okay.
In the clinical years, though, that time has been fluctuating a lot. So there were some years where we were in for the same amount of time for the preclinicals, and then some days, actually most days for one year, where we were in from 8:30 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes eight
That's a
o'clock.
really long day.
Really long days, but that was my fourth year, and that was the worst that we've ever had it. Other than that, it's been pretty chill.
Okay. And like, so you said that when you added the clinical hours, your days were a lot longer. But I think like a lot of IMAT applicants are always curious to how much time you actually spend in the clinic. So, like, not counting the days that you have clinics and lectures, but like, how would you say like the overall time you spend in the clinic? Like,
So overall, we're not allowed technically through the university, at least, to be on clinical rotations during lecture time. You can go to the clinics whenever you want, as long as you have prior consent from the doctor that you're shadowing. But all of our clerkship time, which is the clinical time, is done at the end of the lecture series. So you get all your lectures, and then you have a week or two, depending on the module, just a straight week or two in that clinic, experiencing the stuff that your professors taught you throughout the previous months. Um, every day in clinics begins at 8:30, and you can expect to be done by lunchtime to then have the rest of the day free to study, because usually the way the term is run is you'll have your lectures, then the clerkships, and then the exam period will follow soon afterwards. So a lot of people juggle clerkship time with their studying time before the exam sessions.
I mean, like what I would be more curious about is like, so for example, in Sapienza, in second year, we only go into the hospital 2 days in the entire year. And then in third year, you go in like 4 or 5 times. And then in fourth year, we go in once a week and then twice a week in the second semester. And then in fifth year, we're in like every morning. So in terms of like when the clinical experience starts and like because in first year you're not going into the hospital. In second year you go in like literally 1 day a semester and that's just to see like patient interaction. And then in third year again you just go in 1 or 2 days here and there. But then in like fourth year we start going in like you have to go in once a week minimum. So
Mm.
like how do you
You have a nice
compare?
you have a nice taper up, really, don't you? Like from it's like a build, it's a stepwise increase in the amount of clinical hours that you get.
I mean, yes, it is kind of nice that we do this, but it's still like very, very small. I'm just trying to ask from the perspective of like how I get
Yeah.
asked from
No,
IMAT applicants. So like,
it's
mhm.
In statale, it's at least for our course, it's not like that at all.
Okay.
From third year, you have throughout the whole year, I would say you have probably about a month or 2 months of clinical experience, and then that stays part of the course until you graduate.
Wait. So like you go in for a full month.
Not like a full month, but you'll have like half a month at the end of the first term, and then another half of the month at the end of the second term.
So you guys
Maybe
like
even
group
2 months
it.
actually.
You group it together.
Yeah, for the first term, you'll have. No, sorry, I'm lying. I'm lying. It is 2 months full, not back to back, but you'll have a month of clinical rotations at the end of your first term, and then another month of clinical rotations at the end of the second term to
Of
summate
which
to
year?
2 months for each year, from third year all the way up until fifth. Because in sixth
Oh,
year we don't
okay.
have a final term.
So in third year, you go into the hospitals for 1 month at a time.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it's not great.
oh no.
It's
But
not
why?
great.
It's that sounds like a lot actually.
It's a lot of time, but the experience that you get there is literally just shadowing. They don't give you too much of a hands-on teaching apart from history taking, which is actually really important. So that's quite nice. But doing venipunctures, taking bloods, putting in catheters, none of that is taught to you.
Okay. Like at all?
In my experience so far, no, not at all. But there
Okay.
have been other people on my course who have had the opportunity to draw bloods and what have you, but this has all been done during their TPV or Tirocino at the end of
Okay.
sixth year.
Yeah, so for us, like we haven't been taught to take blood either. And actually, when we brought it up with our university, they were kind of like, "But nurses do that." However, we did in fourth year have to have a full day workshop on inserting catheters.
Okay, that's nice at least.
And then, like in fourth year, I said we have to go in 1 day a week. It's like 1 day you go into cardiology, 1 day you go into pulmonology, 1 day you go into nephrology. And for the internship that was offered in urology, some people actually did prostate exams and catheters on real patients. But like we didn't. Like I didn't, but I know that like two of my classmates actually did. But it was only 1 day a week. So I think it's kind of cool that like you guys get to do a full month. Like that's really like a lot, especially when you consider a semester is only 3 months. Like one full month in the clinic, that sounds really great actually.
It is pretty great, to be honest. Like, okay, so for instance, let's take third year. You do nephrology, cardiology in one exam known as SD1. You'll get taught SD1 throughout the lecture course, and then at the end of the lecture course, you'll spend 1 week in cardiology, then 2 weeks in nephrology. Yeah. But the experience differs wildly because at the moment our courses ran throughout multiple hospitals of Milan, so you do get to go to a lot of different hospitals. But the caveat is that not every doctor you're shadowing will know you because they haven't taught you.
Okay.
So it really depends on you, like how much you're willing to put yourself out there to ask for experience, and the doctor that you're shadowing. I've had my experience on nephrology was great. We got to see how dialysis patients were managed and what have you. But then I know students in following another doctor weren't given the time of day at all. They were just warming the walls for 2 weeks, and they didn't find that experience valuable at all.
I love
So
the
it's
phrase warming walls. That's
yeah,
brilliant. Okay, that's really good. I mean, because for us, starting in first year, you can ask professors to go and start shadowing them, but it's kind of pointless because you don't know anything as a first year.
yeah.
So it's kind of really stupid. And like I've talked about this a bit before, but I have a classmate who basically goes into the hospital every single day. She's basically a resident, according to her words, because she's been so proactive about like chasing down professors to be like, I want to come in, I want to shadow, I want to come in, I want to shadow. And then like just because she kept doing it and pestering, like they started giving her more roles and stuff. But then you have people like me who I've just done like my obligated lesson, not like my obligated hours. I don't know if that makes
Timed
sense.
in, timed out. Got your
Yeah,
time sheet and not.
kind of just like, okay, like this Monday you're going to cardiology with your small group, like this week you're going to urology with your small group, and like what's crazy to me is that there's no standard.
Yeah, that's the main problem here as well. Is there is no standard. I mean, in third year we were actually given, and I quite like this, as annoying as it was for a lot of students. I quite enjoyed the fact that they gave it to us, but they made us go into the clerkship rotations with a checklist of what we need to do,
Oh, that's really
uh,
nice.
and then the tutor had to sign off on that. So
Okay.
because it was third year, it was mainly just history taking, but it's if they'd carried that on throughout the years, I probably would have taken bloods by now and know how to do it proficiently.
Wow, that's actually that's such a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Like then at least you're making sure that like no one's like falling through the cracks with a certain skill. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
not to
mean?
mention if you come to a doctor saying, "Hey, can you teach me how to take bloods?" They can say no. But if you come to a doctor and say, "Hey, my university has given me a checklist of things I need to do, and one of them is to take blood," they're less likely to say no because it's mandated by the university, right? Like you have to fill some kind of criteria
That's
for your course.
so good. I'm going to write that down that they should bring this as a requirement into Sapienza
They
because
should. They definitely should here as well,
yeah,
actually,
because
because it
like
was only something that was a good idea for us.
yeah, like at the moment, like I'm talking with our course president about like how we're going to improve the course and stuff. And one of the classic ones is like we don't get enough clinical experience, but I think like having something as simple as this actually makes such a huge difference
Yeah,
in increasing the quality, maybe not necessarily the quantity, but the quality of the clinical experience you get. Okay, so that was
most definitely, actually. Because
very
like you can go to a clinical rotation and not understand how to actually manage a patient at all. You know all the theory, you know all the physiology, you know all the drugs you need to give, but actually managing a patient is a different ball game. That you need those skills for it, but it's not something that you learn, at least in my clinical rotations during med school, at all.
okay. So just to summarize before we move on, so we both start. I just prefer drawing like comparisons, not to like say which one is better, but it's just like to like understand. We both start in third year, but you guys get like blocked off one. So like you get like a month in first semester and a month in second semester.
Yeah, it's not throughout the course, throughout
Okay,
the lecture course.
that's cool. And then we just basically do 1 or 2 days in first semester, 1 or 2 days, and then like we move up to 1 day a week, and then like 2 or 3 days a week, and then following
I
we
would
do
actually,
like.
I would prefer that. I would much prefer that personally.
I mean, I think all systems have strengths and weaknesses, but like I just want to clarify it because again, like I always, especially when I was helping IMAT students, they would always just be like, "No, Milan starts clinical experience in first year," and I'm like, "Milan does not start clinical experience in first year." So, okay, that's very cool. You start in third year, but you do blocks. I think it's kind of nice to do blocks though, because I found that like you spend the morning there and literally just as you're getting used to how like the department looks and then you leave and you never see it again. So I think it's kind of nice to have like a week where like the first 2 days like you're kind of getting to know the area and then 3 or 4 like you understand how the patient system works and then like 5 or 6 you really understand like how patient interaction works in that department. But I guess that's a whole topic for another video.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so just to ask you then about the exam sessions and the modality, because this is another thing that IMAT students are really like, oh, I don't want to sit oral exams, I want to sit written exams. So can you tell me
Yeah.
about like the how the exam sessions in Milan work? Do you have any other like homeworks or projects, continuous assessment? What is the modality? Like, can you sit them unlimited times? Like, tell me everything you can about exams.
Okay, so I mean, I understand people's worries with exams, especially the oral component, because I come from a system where we only did oral exams for language topics. So giving an oral exam for a science topic was very scary, but you get used to it. So the exam modalities here. Okay, first and foremost, exams can only be held in an exam session. So like I spoke about before, you have a lecture session and then clerkships, and then you have a whole block of time of your semester penciled out just for exams. No lectures can be held during exams, and theoretically no exams can be held during lecture like times, but sometimes they do happen. The minimum amount of exams per module that the university has to provide students is 7 per year. So this means that you have about 2 or 3 exams for each topic during the sessions of winter, summer, and September. So the winter session is usually like the back end of December, very rarely you'll have like pre-appellos, and then which is like an exam before the exam session. But the main months for the winter session is January and February, and then the summer session is May through to July, and then you have the September session. No lectures, no exams, nothing academic is held during August. August is just a write-off for the university and the city, actually. So yeah, you have a minimum of 7 chances per topic per year. So that's quite nice, actually, because
That's the exact same way that we do it in Sapienza. You have like a possible like 2 dates basically per month. So
per month, per
well,
month,
no,
like
like
throughout
7 in total. Sorry, like but like our winter session is February, so you'll have 2 dates for each subject in February, and then June and July you'll have usually 3 dates across June and July. So it might
yeah.
be 2 dates in June and then one in July, or like one in June and then two in July. But they're usually like pretty spaced out. So you usually have like 3 dates across June and July. Then you'll have another two in September is so we also have 7. And then if a professor is feeling kind, you'll do an extraordinary session in December, literally like on the
Oh yeah, yeah.
22nd or 23rd, literally like the day before Christmas Eve. And
We
you
call
might,
those pre-appellos, like the exams that you have before the exam session that
yeah,
the professor just wants people to pass. So they're like, okay, just take this exam now.
yeah. So we call that the extraordinary. And then we have also like April, but the,
Hey,
the but it's the same as the December one. Like they're not
okay.
guaranteed. Like they don't have to give those dates. It's basically at the discretion of the professor if they're feeling like generous that they'll put that. And it's the same for April. Like not all professors will do it. Like if they're feeling generous, they'll do it. And it's the same for December. But so we basically have the exact same like exam setup timetable kind of thing.
Yeah, that's quite nice. I mean, I don't know about you, but okay, so during the preclinical years, most, if not all, exams have both a written and an oral component.
Oh, you have to
Excuse
do
me one.
both. Okay.
You have to do. Excuse me one second.
So while he's waiting to sneeze, it's kind of the same for us in first year where you have a written part to get to the oral part, but you have to sit the oral part to pass. But
Yeah.
this is mainly just for first year exams like biology, chemistry, and physics. You have to sit a written part to get to the oral, and then everything else basically after that is all oral. And then we have 2 exams in the entire 6 years that are just written, but basically everything is completely oral.
So for us, we have a bit more than 2. We have, okay, so preclinical, we have pretty much every exam being written and oral. Then in the clinical years, again, it's pretty much the big exams are always going to be written and oral. And it's always like you'll have to do the written on clinical biochemistry, pathology, maybe histology, and one other topic. And then once you've passed that written, you'll go on to do the actual oral of, say, I don't know, cardiology, nephrology, endocrinology, what have you. Like the mainstay topic will always be the oral component, but there are some exam modalities which we have which are just written or just oral. So like, for
Okay.
instance, obstetrics, pediatrics, and gynecology is just an oral examination. Emergency is just an oral examination now, but it was just a written examination before.
Okay,
So
so they
these,
changed it.
yeah, these smaller exams, quote unquote, are one or the other, but the big exams are always both.
So like for us in first year, we have written only like sorry, we have written to get to the oral.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we
same
have
here.
one subject which is called BMSM, which is kind of like a mix of all of the topics that didn't really deserve their own subject, so they put it into one subject. And you have like history of medicine, like statistics, a little bit of like epidemiology, like basically like things that really you couldn't stretch out into one full semester. They like mixed it together. So that's basically written only. And then now we have another written only exam, but it's for pathological anatomy, where you kind of have to look at slides and then write down what you think it was and like what you're seeing. And do you know what I mean?
Like histology and microanatomy slides, or is it
Yeah.
like?
So so we have anatomy 2 in second year, which is like where you look at like so we have histology and embryology in first year, where you start kind of understanding like histological structures, and then we have anatomy 2, which is like looking at the histology of all the different organs, and then we have pathological anatomy in fourth year, which is basically like what the pathologists at the hospital do. So like you also have to go in for an autopsy. That was a really scarring experience for me that we had to do in fourth year.
I loved it. We did that in our second year. In
I
fact,
hate.
actually, yeah, at any point after your second year, you can ask to go to the autopsies when they're being held, because it's
Yeah.
not like some like a lot of med school students who I speak to have this kind of image in their head that everyone gets a cadaver here and everyone gets to practice on a cadaver for like the whole
Oh,
6 years.
okay. No, okay.
It's not
So
the case.
I do want to talk about dissections separately, but I don't mean like dissection. I just literally mean like it was a patient who died in the hospital, and the pathologist just goes in and see what the cause of death was. The reason why I want to speak about it separately is because the one of the biggest myths about Milan is that you guys are the only university in Italy that gets to do dissections.
Yeah, huge myth.
Huge myth, because it's not
Huge.
true,
It's
right?
not true at all. I don't know who was talking out their ass bum there, but it was it's a myth. I mean, we do get okay. So this autopsy experience that we get is groups of maybe 15 to 10 to 15 students going into the autopsy lab with the anatomy professor, and the anatomy professor, depending on which group you are, he will either cut open the cadaver completely with you in the room and then show you around the body, or if you're the second group, the body will already be open and he will show you the internal organs, what they look like, and will allow you to palpate yourself, and take it in turns to palpate yourself the different structures. Like we got to squeeze. Did you know when you squeeze lungs, it sounds like someone
Spongy.
stepping on fresh snow? Like it's got this
Gross.
crunch to it. It's gross, but it's also really cool. And actually, the lungs that we saw were just full on black throughout,
Oh,
and
what's that called?
not
Like charcosis or something?
no. It was just
Anthracosis.
it was physiological because she just lived in Milan for too long, and the pollution got to her.
So, oh, yeah, yeah. Our professor said the same thing, that basically anyone who lives the in a city gets what's called anthracosis, which is when you get like infiltrations of like black. Even if you're not a smoker, you actually get it. So for us, the autopsy is, we do it as a part of like like we said, like we have nephrology and cardiology, so like that's our clinical pathology part of it. And for us, like you go in the group and you don't know what type of patient you're going to get that day, because it's literally like in the hospital, like
Someone,
whichever, yeah, someone died. And so like for us, we had a very like elderly patient where like she was really sick, but they didn't know what the exact cause of death was. So like we did an autopsy to figure out what it was, and it was a very, like, I would say tragic experience, a tragic
yeah.
experience, because they didn't let us wear masks, and I like threw up in my mouth from the smell. And
Wait. They didn't let you wear masks.
no, they said that we need to get used to the smell. But it was like the worst thing ever, because with every organ they removed, it was like a fresh wave of like like just stink. and
Aldehyde.
and
Yeah.
like I and then we were like, please professor, just let us wear masks. And they were like, you get used to it in 5 seconds. Every time you get hit with a stronger wave, that's actually a different organ. All of the organs have different smells. And I was just like, I want to get out of here. Like, so, but
No,
anyway, that's
our professors were really kind about it. Like everyone had to wear like full head to toe protective gear.
Oh, why
And
did we get trial by fire? That's
I
ridiculous.
don't know, like they were really adamant as to like if you feel like you're going to throw up, get the fuck out of that room because
Oh
we do
my
not want anyone throwing up on this dead body. Like we don't want
God.
vomit in this nice cadaver.
Okay,
So
well, there were sinks where we could throw up, but I was like literally like holding back throw up. Not because I was disgusted by what I was seeing. It was just the smell. Like the smell was what I could not handle.
Oh, for me, that's fine. Like, I have a really bad sense of smell. I didn't notice
No,
anything.
but going back to the original topic, like, so this is
Yeah.
like an autopsy, and this is completely separate than a dissection, because a dissection
Yeah.
is usually you have a cadaver and students get to take it apart to see anatomical structures like the muscles and bones and insertions and origins. This is a myth. Like, even Milan, you guys don't do this. We don't do this. No university. And actually, there are only like 3 universities in England that do dissections anymore, but this is a completely different story. What we do get to kind of do in Sapienza is when you finish the entire anatomy course, there is an opportunity some years called a prosection or a vivisection where the anatomy professor will do a dissection, but it's like the entire medical faculty is invited. So it's not like students go and they get to like see it like and participate in it. Like, you sit in a room and there's like a live feed set up and you like watch the professor do it. And then we do the same thing for like a brain dissection as well. But like you have
Better
to.
than nothing. I mean, for us, at least, the only thing we get close to is just having an anatomy lab where we have a bunch of anatomical models which you can
Okay,
take
yeah.
apart, and there's always a doctor in that room
Okay.
advise students.
But I feel like the anatomy labs, that's like pretty standard, I think. I'm not sure.
I should hope so. Like,
I mean,
because they're
I
really
don't
useful.
I don't know, but like I just really wanted to like always clarify this thing about dissections, because it's the number one thing I'm asked is like, does Sapienza have dissections? And it's like, no. And they're like, but Milan has dissections, and I'm like,
No,
probably not. So I'm really
no.
glad that you like clarified
I mean, I
that.
wish we did, but
But the thing is, like, schools in the
too
UK
many
don't
dead
even
bodies
do
around.
dissections anymore. Like, it's being phased out as time passes by. But
It's got a bit of a sordid history as well.
anyway, so we've clarified exams, the timetable, dissections. Let's move on to perhaps tuition, the cost of tuition in Milan.
So I know that it's our tuition is kind of similar to yours. We do not have like a flat rate for everybody. It used to be that everyone paid the maximum fee unless you were able to give something known as an ISEE document, which is a declaration of your land ownership and your family income, which would be able to give you a reduction in the fees. Now, for international students, your fees are based on the country that you come from, irregardless of your financial background. But you can still apply for a fee reduction with that same ISEE application process to reduce that cost. The minimum amount of money that anyone on our course pays is 0. Like, some people are getting their tuition for free. Some people are even being paid by the university to study.
Oh, wow.
Study.
Okay.
Like, being paid is in like
Borsa?
they're getting
Okay, nice.
Mensa and all of that. So, like, not literally monetary payment,
Yeah.
but their fees are 0 and they get free food and accommodation.
Okay.
On the opposite scale, the maximum anyone will pay for an annual term for an annual fee is €3,600.
So that's
if I
the
remember.
maximum.
That's the maximum you will be asked to pay.
Regardless of what country you're from.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the way it works for us is that we have, okay, if you're an Italian student, it's based on your income. So the ISEE document, the ISEE, the ISEE. So the max you pay is like around €3,000 as well. That's if you have like the maximum ISEE. And then it can go all the way back down to 0, of course. That's if you're Italian. If you're an international student, you're split into 2 parts. And if you're from like what they call a developed country, you pay €1,000. If you're from an underdeveloped country, you pay around €400 or €500. These are the flat fees. But international students can also submit the ISEE to further lower their fees. Like, for example,
it can be quite annoying, I think, for internationals as well, because you have to get so many documents translated.
Yeah. No, the ISEE is it's a pain to obtain. But like the point is, like, if you don't hand in your ISEE, then you pay a maximum of €1,000, unless you're from a
Okay.
developing country, which is where you pay 500. And then if you're Italian, they usually get the ISE every year, so that's not really
Yeah.
like a huge consideration for them. So like, okay, so you said it's based on every country, so there's no point in like asking you what the average would be because it completely depends on the GDP of the country you're coming from.
Yeah, and the average for my year would be based on the demographics of my year. But um, I think it follows a similar line. It's not like developed, underdeveloped countries. For us, we have if I remember correctly, it's a three-tier system of countries. So it's quite binary as yours. But you can always apply for scholarships as well. Especially when you're entering into the university, there is an application process for scholarships that I'm not too familiar with myself, but I know that you can get a significant fee reduction from that. But you can apply for that scholarship program at any point in the 6 years, as long as you're not fuori corso, which means that you've skipped a year, or not skipped a year, sorry, been
Held back a year.
yeah, essentially. But I don't think it's quite the same as held back a year.
No, it's not. But that's going to take a whole video to explain. So like I'm not going to get into that.
But the nice thing about the course as well is that if you have 90% of your CFU that is available to you, and you're not fuori corso, you do get a small reduction in your fees as well.
And this is regardless of your grades.
Irregardless of the grades, you just have to have the CFU. So you can just 18 every single exam, but you'll still make this reduction. It's not a significant, like really big reduction, but it is, it's
I
enough
still think
to.
that's a way nicer way to do it because for us, if you're in the top 5 of the class, then you get your fees waived. So like everyone who's in the top 5 gets that. But like I like the system of being on time, getting a reduction better because I've talked about this before. You can't really compare like two students in a class because one might have to work a part-time job and not have the
Exactly.
the time to study, so then they don't rank in the top 5, so they don't get the fee reduction, whereas like maybe if they got that fee reduction in the first place they wouldn't need to work part-time.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
to me, like the system that we have in Sapienza is so stupid, and I'm not saying that like the top students shouldn't be rewarded, but I definitely think if we switched to a system like you had where as long as you're like on time with your exams you still get a fee reduction, like I think that's a brilliant way to do it.
No, but on top of all of this, I mean, the Italian fees are significantly cheaper than most of the places in the Western world.
Oh no, okay,
Significantly.
for sure. Like €1,000 a year to study
Yeah,
medicine is incredible. Like even in other countries that offer medicine in English, you will never get fees as low as it is to study in Italy, unless you go to one of the private universities.
especially in the two big ones that people want to go to, like the US and the UK.
No,
You can really bankrupt yourself trying to study
even in
medicine.
like Australia and stuff, even in like when you consider like Latvia and Romania, like these other countries that study medicine in English, they pay like 7 to 8 thousand euro per semester, which is basically a
Per
private.
semester.
That's basically a private university. So
Yeah,
like you're never going to get that. But I think like the Italian system is not only quite cheap but quite generous, like what you were saying with the scholarships, like every region. So this is more like not university based but region based, where you can apply and you'll get like either a year, like so you can get all of your fees completely waived. You can get like some sort of like supplemental income to help you pay your rent, or you can get the mensa, which is like free meals for students in the cafeteria. So like the Italians are like very, very generous because also international students can actually apply for these. So it's not only
and
Italian students.
so the barrier to entry for especially getting the Mensa card is very low, and it helps a lot. Like just being able to go to, because you go to restaurants as well to get this food. It's not like you go to a university cafe to get the food that's allocated to you. You go to an already established restaurant that has a partnership with the university, and you
Okay.
get decent food for free.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I do think like studying medicine in Italy is like the most like budget friendly option there is. Not only because like the fees are still cheap, but also like based on your income, you can like get the free meals like you said, or get your fees completely waived. But so what would be the university accommodation options? Because I know that like a part of the bursary here, like the scholarships here, you can actually get housing paid for. Like
Yes, you can.
Oh, but I should quickly clarify though. So you can get housing, but it's incredibly rare because student
Yeah,
accommodation
that's the issue.
is not actually really a thing at all. Like there are very like small number of apartments, and it's very very rare to actually get it. Like what everyone does is they rent a house. So like
Yeah.
how is that in Milan?
No, it's the same here. I mean, we have a list of student approved residencies through an organization named Chidis, which has changed very recently. So I'm not 100% sure if it's still going under the same name, but there is two main places that people go to. Uh, but the capacity in those two areas is not enough to house every single student of Milan, and you'll be competing against every single student of Milan for a place in those residencies. So everyone on all the Italian courses will be living there. So if you can get a spot in it, it's fantastic because it's the best way to learn Italian is by living with Italians. So if you can get a spot, it's great, and it's not unheard of. I know of a handful of people on our course who have who are living in these residencies, so it's definitely doable, but it's not without its challenges. And you can, if I remember correctly, you can choose to pay for that residence, like that housing a spot, or the university will cover that fee for you, depending on your scholarship status and your ISE payments and what have you. But yeah, for the most part, people will be living in private accommodation uh, in or around the city,
Okay.
and then travel into university every day.
And like I really hate always asking this question and answering it because obviously the price is so dependent. It's ridiculous to ask, but I'm going to have to ask, how would you like summarize the prices? Say like for a house that is 30-minute walking distance from the university in a decent area.
So the issue here is that our campus is in a place known as Segrate, which is quite outside of the city, but this is changing soon to Niguarda, the hospital itself. So, which is also outside the city, but as it stands at the moment, a 30-minute radius by walking in Segrate is possible, but most students choose to live in a place called Città Studi or Piola, which is just off of the Green Line.
Is that a
The,
metro or a tram?
sorry, the metro line number two, which is the Green Line, which is the heart and soul of travel for any student in Milan because it takes you all the way to uni, but also goes through all of the big significant places that you could want to visit in the city anyway. So most people choose to live in Piola or Città Studi. If you're looking to live on your own, I would say prices here go from anywhere from 400 up to 1,200.
But you can live on your own for 400 within a walking distance of the university.
Yeah, but you won't like the place you're living in.
That's
You
so
won't.
cheap. That's
I
so
was,
so cheap.
yeah, but it the accommodation won't be great.
Because the thing is, like, when I looked up the cost of living for the different areas in Italy, Milan was always like one of the highest.
Mm.
So I'm very surprised because here you can find a studio apartment, like to live by yourself for €400, but you would basically have to take a train from outside of the city, like a 40-minute train ride to get to the city. Like,
Mm.
do you know what I mean? To be able to find a apartment that
The
cheap.
the second issue that I'll come on to with this is that I'll say it now anyway. Like finding a place this year, finding a place has been really easy because a lot of people have moved out of the city because of COVID. But finding private accommodation before used to be insanely difficult, especially for international students, because there is, and I hate to say it, but there is some kind of prejudice as soon as they hear you not speaking fluent Italian. A lot of places will just hang up on you straight away. I've had this happen to me more times than I would care to count, and I've heard it from my friend. Pretty much any international student that I spoke to, trying to find accommodation will also tell me this problem. Um, but you can find accommodation, and there are places to do this. But getting that 400 euro a month on your own. Living on your own is probably something that's only going to happen for the Italian students if they wish to, because it's just easier for them to get.
That's I'm so shocked by how cheap that is because like here to find a place where you can live by yourself, like I'm talking like a full apartment to yourself for 400 euro, you need to go outside of Rome for
I'm
sure.
talking like a monolocale, like you've got,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Your own apartment basically. Like a one
like a
room apartment.
yeah, like a one room studio.
Because like I live in a one in a like a solo apartment and I pay 600 euro and that's considered cheap considering I can walk to university in 30 minutes.
Is it a bilocale?
Uh I have a room and then like the kitchen and the bathroom are separate.
Yeah, bilocale.
Okay, so
So like how it works is every room outside of so a monolocale is one local, right? And that counts one room that everything is in. That'll be your living room and your kitchen, because the bathroom is always considered separate to the locale system. So
see,
monolocale, one room, one
okay,
bathroom.
so I don't want to
Bilocale.
really like get into this right now because we're already 40 minutes in and we haven't even gone halfway through our university discussion.
Uh,
But so for someone who would like a private room in a shared apartment, what would be the
so,
average price they're looking at?
so again, in Piola, I know personally of some people who are living in Piola for 200 euros a month just for rent,
That's
with
so
bills.
cheap. I'm so shocked at how cheap this is. Yeah.
But that can go all the way up to, again, thousands, depending on a number of things, actually. Like if you're on a penthouse floor, if you're and your facilities inside are of top notch. If there's a portinaria, like a receptionist who takes your packages and all of that for you and looks after the halls and what have you.
So what was
Um,
the name of this area? Because I
P-
have to look this up. Like I'm finding it so hard to believe.
Piola or Città Studi.
Okay, it's not coming up for either. Uh I just ask because like these are the types of prices I would expect from like Bari
Yeah,
or Napoli or Pavia, like you know, like the way smaller places.
but these places that I've mentioned, like especially this 200 a month, this guy was a friend of um, actually the two guys. One person living in one place is paying 350 a month, and then the 200 is also
Okay,
like,
because like not that I'm trying to like say that you're wrong or anything, but like okay, so I'm looking at it right now and there's a two-bedroom flat for 1,000 euro and then you have a three-bedroom flat for 900 euro.
hmm,
So like and then you have four for 1,500. Like the prices do seem like a bit all over the place.
is this immobiliare?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, these guys all got it through word of mouth, so there is that factor to play as well.
Yeah, like this studio is 700 euro and then you have two room for
That that
700
I
euro.
that I would say is a bit more par for the course, is the higher bracket. These really low numbers are not status quo. These are,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
if
but
you
like
know if you know a
the
guy,
thing is
basically.
like when not that I'm calling you out is that when you're answering these questions you have to understand that like the people who are watching this aren't going to know people in Milan.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is why I would say that Piola, average, living on your own, uh, 500 upwards
Okay.
for an
That's
student,
still cheaper
because
than I would have expected.
I mean, Città Studi in Piola is known to be like a student area, so the rates are usually a lot lower than the rest of the city. Like where I'm living right now, which is Naviglio, the average price I would say is 700 upwards to live on your
Okay.
own.
Yeah, that would be kind of like similar to Rome in not even like the super nice areas. So that's why I was so shocked because like here like I don't know because I just always imagined like Rome and Milan were going to have similar pricing. Because we're both like the biggest cities in
Yeah, I would
Italy.
expect so too. But I
Yeah.
mean, like you said, the prices vary drastically here, because I don't mean to to be a shitty person or anything, but the quality of flats it can vary a lot. Like I was
Yeah.
living in an apartment that was 500 euros a month, bills included, in Porta Venezia, which is a really nice area of Milan. But the apartment was horrible. It was just really bad. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have an oven. I didn't have a washing machine. It's not that. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I didn't have a washing machine. So I was washing all my clothes in the sink for a whole year. So
That's crazy.
you can find some really bad places, but for cheap, or you can, pay the average and get an average place.
Yeah, see, I hate answering this as well because like are you like if you're willing to share a room, right? You can get your rent for like 200 euro a month and like
Really,
literally live like 10 minutes within walking distance of the university.
but you
And
also live with your living space with another person, often a stranger as well, which can be a
yeah,
bit jarring.
and that can work for some people, but then like say you want a double room, do you want a bathroom? Do you want to live in a student neighborhood or do you want to live in a nicer neighborhood? Are you willing to travel on the metro? Because like when you consider all of these, it changes from 200 to 1,200
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
month. But I just
But
kind of just wanted to just like give people an idea because I know that if we don't talk about it, people are going to be like, "Oh, why can't you talk about the costs?" Well, there, we just talked about the costs. So,
but it's also one of those things that's going to vary a lot by the time they get here as well.
I
Like the
know.
housing market now is up and down. Like I have a number of friends moving out.
People always ask it though, so I just
Yeah,
want
no,
to
no,
always
and it's a
cover the
valid question to
bases.
have. It's definitely a valid question to have. Just with all of these things, they should be doing their due diligence before not even applying, before coming here.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it at the fact, again, it can highly vary. Milan and Rome are going to be more expensive than other cities, though. You have to expect this.
One thing I did want to mention as well, though, is that there are private student accommodations which you can apply to. One of the ones that I think know of the top of my head, which I have stayed in, which was quite nice, a little bit on the pricey side, is in Domus. That's if anyone's struggling to find a place for short term before, like, because what a lot of international students will do is they'll find like a short term stay as soon as they get here in their first year, stay there for like a month or two, maybe even 3, whilst they look for a more stable accommodation place. So that's a nice strategy that a lot of newcomers will do, and it tends to pay off because in those 3 months, I would say it takes about 3 months to even just find a place before you move as well. So finding these private accommodation points can, when you first come here, can really help.
Here, the only a private student accommodation I know of, like I've seen buildings around where I live, but I've never heard of anyone living in them. But I know that outside of Rome, where Tor Vergata is, which is another university that offers medicine in English, they have what's called Campus X, which is private university accommodation. And it kind of makes sense because Tor Vergata is kind of outside of the city. So it's not like they have a lot of options, but those private student accommodations, they're really nice, but they're really pricey. It's like 600 euro a month to share a room with someone. And I think, sorry, not to share a room, to share a house with someone.
I think
And
it's the same, but you have
that,
more amenities as well. Like you have a gym, you have
oh,
a private eating
yeah, but that's
area.
still like just not worth it to me personally because like,
Yeah.
because if you, okay, I'm just gonna like, before we move on, but like, if you were willing to take a 10-minute bus to school living next to Tor Vergata, you can find an apartment for like a private room for 250, and then you can find a nice gym for 50 euro a month. And that's
True.
300 and it's still half the price. And I had a friend who lived there, who still lives there, who's like, yeah, but like I like living with other students, like because everyone who lives on the campus, they're like partying all the time. And I'm like, but would you pay 600 euro a month for it? But okay, so moving back to the university itself, how would you like describe your class sizes, your class like collaboration, and how that affects your relationship with the professors?
Oh, this is a doozy. So
Yeah.
every single year takes 40 to 50 students, depending on whether there's people who are fuori corso coming into the year below. The average is 40, though. In my year at the moment, we do have, I think, a touch over 40, with 50-50 split on internationals to Italian students, which has been pretty much par for the course for all the years below me. The year above me had a lot more Italian students than international students, but pretty much every year since has had a 50-50 split. I think there are more internationals now in the first year, but I'm not 100% sure. My year is notoriously, how do I put this? There's notorious friction in my year. We don't get along as well as other years.
Okay.
But it's pretty much just my year. Like
Okay.
every other year seems to get on really well. And that friction for us has caused a lot of tension with the professors, but it wasn't always that way. We used to get on really well with the professors, but this year tensions arose due to exam modalities, which caused some issues with professors. But for the most part, having the small class size is really good for getting to know your professors. And when you consider that the professors in pretty much any medical school that you go to ever are going to be world-class scientists, it pays off really well to have that small class size to get to know your professors better, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for you should you wish to take them. Like if I wanted to, I could go and ask a cardiologist by the name of Professor Agostoni whether I could go and shadow him for a month, and he would be more than happy to accommodate me. And he's one of the most renowned cardiologists in Europe. So that kind of relationship and rapport that you can create with professors with such a small class size is super beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, so like we are also meant to be, I think, 45, 10 non-EU, 35 EU. Realistically, though, like with number of people who show up, we're more close to like 30 people a class, I would say, like day to day. And that really does give you the opportunity to, like when you see the professor every day and talking to them before and after class, like they do like see you and start recognizing you. And that's also pretty advantageous in oral exams. So cool. So you guys,
Yeah, especially the oral examinations. Yeah.
so you have like a pretty small class size as well at 40 to 50. And you know, you said that a lot of your professors are world-class quality, which I don't doubt because Milan is an amazing university. But
some of them are world class, some of them are
there,
less.
there. I'll just
Less.
say. So, but in general, like again, I hate questions like this because
Level
no
of
two
English.
professors. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
first of all, no two professors are going to be the same. Like we have an amazing, incredible surgeon professor, but he's a crap professor. Like he has no interest in teaching. He sits and he just reads off the slides, but he is like incredible at what he does. So I hate like asking like, what's the quality of professors in Sapienza? Like good. Like, you know, you have to be good to be a professor, but obviously some of them are like above and beyond, and I'll never forget them till the end of my medical career. And the other ones are just they're crap. Like because they don't want to be there. So like
Exactly.
but
Like I would say that the average professor is above average in quality in
yeah,
our
okay.
university. Like
Perfect.
most, if not all, like you're going to be able to count the amount of bad professors, I reckon, on one hand, maybe both
Okay.
your hands.
So the quality is good, basically.
Yeah, I would say so. Like I've
And
come from a
the
British
sorry.
university before, so I can understand how like the teaching would be in comparison to that, and the teaching here outpaces the teaching that I had in my previous university by a mile. But that's not without its pitfalls here and there, and there are some professors who we've complained about so much that they've taken them off the course because they weren't interested in teaching. So
Oh, that's really interesting. Actually, now that I think about it, we had one of our first year professors like let go from our course as well.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean, it's rightfully so. If they're taking a paycheck to teach, but they're not teaching,
yeah,
what?
makes sense.
I mean,
And so the level of English, pretty good, I would assume.
yeah, um, yeah. For the first 2 years, it may not feel like that because there are some professors who don't really, how do I say this, have a lot of international experience. I
Okay.
mean, obviously, the language of science is English, but they don't have a lot of international experience. So they have a heavy Italian accent, and sometimes it can be difficult to understand them. But after you get through the preclinical years, I would say that like 95% of the professors that you meet will have very good levels of English.
Yeah, like in Sapienza, like I have never ever once had a problem with a professor's level of English. However, they do these like funny mistakes, like they say
Yeah.
muscle or stomach.
Stomach.
I love
Stomach, yes.
stomach. I love stomach or
Oh, that's
muscle.
fantastic. I thought it was just as
No, no, and the other one that I saw is belonging.
blunging.
Like instead of belonging, like
Oh, what?
belonging. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so
I mean, we had you know, when you get into a car crash and you have like muscle compression and that can cause like really,
rhabdomyosis or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
They call it crash syndrome, but we had it taught to us as crush syndrome.
Oh.
No, sorry, the other way around. The other way around. See, I don't even know what it is because I can't remember which one is the one that they had the
Yeah.
bad accent for and what the actual.
Okay.
I think it's crush syndrome, really, but they kept
But
calling it crash syndrome, and I was like, I don't know what's going on.
yeah,
Still
yeah,
don't.
yeah. There's just small things like that. But like overall, oh, like we did have a few professors where they didn't speak good English, but they were aware of it, but they like tried to go above and beyond to make up for it.
And that I think is the key. Like if they
Yeah.
don't speak good English, but they don't try, then that's fine. Sorry, that's not fine. But if they're trying to like make amends, they make their slides really good because
Yeah.
they don't have the ability to say it to you. Then I think that's what is
Yeah.
is
Cause
take.
we had one professor and like she was one of the best professors I ever had, but her English was quite weak because she told us that she learned English by reading research papers, but
Yeah,
never by like really practicing. So like she said that like when she was teaching us was the first time that she actually had to like out loud like practice English instead of just consuming it. But like she went so above and beyond.
that's what you want from a professor, though.
Yeah,
Even
like
if they had
she
some kind of
recorded like lectures to put on YouTube before COVID, like before this was a whole thing. Like she would do like supplementary lectures on YouTube just to make up. She was really good, but okay, so
uh,
again, another one of those. Obviously, not all professors are going to be the same, but like the
your mileage may
quality.
vary.
Yeah, exactly. Quality is good. So just finally, like before I move on to the ultimate question, but how would you describe the amenities of the university, such as like social clubs, sports clubs, whatever? And then I want to segue into resources for the university.
So the amenities. The main one is obviously going to be sports, right? Sports is in like anything to do with physical activity is held or hosted under something known as CUS Milano, CUS, which is actually recognized by the Olympic Committee of Italy. Um, and they have almost every single sport under the sun that you could wish to do hosted through the university. The events that they host aren't free. You pay for the CUS membership, and then that covers your insurance for health reasons. And then you pay for either courses or to the club in which you want to attend. So you can go as a hobby level and pay for those courses, or you can go as like a competitive level and pay for the club's how do I say this, membership fee, I guess. But they have a lot of sports from like fencing to swimming to skiing to water polo, football. I think we have a rugby team as well. But yeah, they have a lot to offer there. And then if you have any other interests, I think it's a bit more difficult because I'm used to like in the UK we have, you can start a society for anything and then ask people to join, and albeit you have a society held under the university. But here it's a bit more different. If it's not a sport, then it's a bit harder to get into. But there is a very well established gaming society within Milan, which hosts a bunch
It's
of different,
actually funny you say that because it keeps coming up in my Instagram recommendations.
like the Owl. Yeah,
The
they're really good.
the the to join the Milan game sock, and I'm like, but I'm not in Milan. Like,
That Discord
yeah.
popping is. fire.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the Cus thing. That must be like some sort of Italian thing because we have
Yeah.
the exact same system in Rome.
Oh yeah.
Where
Nice.
yeah, like the CUS and like it covers so it there's like multiple like pools and football fields and like other things and you can go and take part in those if you pay like your fee to the KUS, but it also covers your gym like because the university has a gym but it's so bad. Like
Oh, okay.
it's so bad. There's like one treadmill and it has a sign on it saying like please don't use more than 15 minutes. Um but it has like so but there are like really cool classes like you can take like taekwondo. There was long sword fighting like European broadsword, yeah, and me and my friend were meant to join because you pay like I think it's like 180 euro for the year and then you pay like 2 euro per lesson or something like that. That's once a
See,
week.
that's the thing that puts me off the most is the price. And I know it's not,
It's so
it's
cheap
not.
though.
I know when you think about it like that, but it is a lump sum. For us, it was a lump sum at the start of the term, and if you didn't pay that, you couldn't attend. Like they wouldn't
Yeah,
allow you to pay in installments. So that for me was always a turn off.
I
But
mean,
obviously,
do you mean like the 180?
yeah, yeah. At first, you
Yeah,
have to pay it at the start. Like it's not
yeah,
like a weekly installment thing,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I makes sense because they have to pay for hosting spaces, they have to pay for equipment, and all of this. You can't pay week by week. They have to buy in a lump sum. So
Yeah, that it I mean, to me like if you consider the fact that you get the gym, like 180 euro for the full year for a gym, that's very cheap. But the nice thing is like you pay that and you get like access to all the facilities like the football fields and the swimming pools and the tennis courts and then you can go to like you can pay 2 euro a week and like go to like boxing classes, fencing classes, volleyball classes or
for us, I don't think we got whole access to everything with that 100 and like the money that you pay goes to the activity you want to do.
okay. I mean,
So it's not like
regardless,
you have
there's
access.
like the KUS, it's the same system. It's not
Yeah,
specific to the university. It's basically like that. And then we kind of talked a little bit about the Mensa. You said that there are like different memberships with different restaurants.
yeah.
Because like we have like university canteens and you can get like a super good meal like that has like a full plate of pasta, like a
Mhm.
side, a meat side, because the way here it works in Italy, they separate primi and secondi, and primi is like a pasta dish, and secondi is like a steak or something like that, or like a pork chop.
Basically, you get two full meals.
Yeah, so you get that, and you get like a side, and like I think like either a small dessert or a small juice box or something like that, and it's like 5 euro. Or if you have the Mensa, you get that for 2 euro or free, depending on like your ISE. So like, do you guys have something like a canteen like that, or is it based on like the memberships with the restaurants?
We have both. So each university building, most university buildings will have a Mensa attached to them, or will be a short walk from a different university building's Mensa within Statale, because all of our university buildings are dotted around the city.
Okay.
So you can get your Mensa. So you get a Mensa card, and you have to top up that card every week, and that will be allowance for the week. What most students will do though is they'll just leave that
Wait, can
card.
you just wait a second for the ambulance in the background? I can't hear you at all.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, go on. Say that again.
So you get the Mensa card, and you have to top it up every week through the university, and they'll give you your allowance for food for the week through
Ah,
that.
okay. Oh, okay,
What,
okay, interesting.
but what most students will do is they'll just leave that card at the favorite restaurant that they go to anyway, and that restaurant will just keep topping it up every day, whether you use that allowance or not. And then you have at the end just this lump sum of food cash that you can use at that restaurant, and then the
Interesting.
restaurant will just
That's
use it.
pretty cool. That's a pretty cool way to do it. So, so that's like the amenities, but like then if we move on to the teaching facilities, like the
Mhm.
labs, we talked about the anatomy lab. I think that's pretty standard in any university.
Yeah, I would hope so.
What's cool about Sapienza, like not as a flex, but I actually only recently found this out, is that apparently the younger years now have access to skill labs. So they have like a lab where they get to play like with like a laparoscopic surgery machine.
What?
I know, and I was
So jealous.
shook it when I heard this
I'm
because
so jealous.
no one told me about this, and like we can't access it. And then they have apparently like in so Sapienza has like the main campus, and then it has like out in the middle of nowhere campus, and we never go to the out in the middle of nowhere, but apparently they like brought in these like incredible. So a few years ago they brought it into the out in the middle of nowhere, but now on the main campus they brought in these like apparently like virtual dissection tables, which I haven't seen, but apparently they're like these huge tables where you like it creates like 3D renders of like different parts of the human body.
Hmm.
I don't know how to describe it to you. So these are things that I know that Sapienza has gotten, but back in my day, we didn't have any of this stuff. So how is it in Milan? Like, do you know if there's like been anything updated or?
So, so we're still running on analog, pretty much just using anatomy models.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was for us as well, to be honest.
Apart from, I think when you come to do neuroanatomy now, the professor will actually use a 3D model during the lectures. Not each person will get their own 3D mod, like 3D digital model. Like the professor who teaches the head and neck anatomy course, she will use a 3D model on screen
Ah, okay.
to showcase things. Outside of that, I don't think there's any updates to the infrastructure to teach anything like that.
Yeah, because
It
like
would be
for
cool to use a laparoscopic Darwin machine though. That would
I
that's on
think
my
though
bucket list for
it would
sure.
it would be pointless though for you to use it when you're just an anatomy student. I mean, like not that I'm complaining, but I think it's kind of stupid personally, but
It
whatever.
is. That's probably something you should reserve to, I don't know, like
Surgical
gastro
residents.
and surgery. Yeah, general surgery.
But
But we
okay.
digress.
So you have the anatomy labs. Like the way it worked for us is that we had anatomy lectures, and then one day a week we would have to go to the anatomy lab, and they had like bags of bones, and then you would go into little groups and you would look at the bones and be like, oh, this is the insertion of this muscle. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, and they were just like little bone models and stuff, and it was fun and nice. Other
Yeah,
than
we had the same as well as radiographic slides to go along with those.
that's cool. Like we didn't have that. Um, so like
Like
what
slides,
would
like chest films or what have you, like actual X-ray.
oh
Yeah,
that's really cool.
but that's about it. That's about it.
But then again, I ask, why do you need that in first year?
True, true.
But that's still, I don't know. I still think that's like super nice. Like we didn't have any of that. It was just kind of like learning the bones, but not learning any like thing related to the bones, if that makes sense. Like you just kind of, for us, it was,
Foundation, right? Because I don't know about you, but we revised anatomy time and time and time again in the clinical situations. Like pretty much every single lecture that I've had, introductory lecture that I've had during my clinical time, will have like, okay, so this is the anatomy that we're dealing with
yeah,
today.
you review the anatomy and the physiology, like the
Yeah.
basics. But like for us, like anatomy one, which you do in your first year, first semester, is basically like rote memorization of the names of the bones. What are the landmarks on the bones? What are the insertions and origins? And of course, like when you're coming out of high school, you're like, oh, I'm a doctor now. Like it's really cool, but you realize how unimportant it kind of is because if I asked you right now, you're
Yeah,
about to
actually,
graduate,
I really loved.
huh?
Don't do this to me. Don't do this
Okay,
to
well,
me.
I won't do this to you. But anyway, so other than the anatomy lab, like what are other facilities? Like we talked last time in because this we actually recorded this interview before, so this is our second attempt at it. We talked that Milan doesn't have 24-hour libraries, which I was shook at them about.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really big hit to me.
that's
Actually,
shocking to me.
it is shocking just in this day and age that you don't have a 24-hour library. That's I know of one, but it's not through our university. It's through the Polytechnical University. But we
Like
sneak in.
because we have like three or four. Like we have three for sure that I've been to, but whenever I look on the map, it shows us four. They actually do. They're not actually 24 hours because they close for 1 hour at 8 p.m. and 1 hour at 8 a.m. to like clean and stuff. And people complain that we don't have enough 24-hour libraries, and they're not nice enough. So like it's shocking to me that Milan doesn't. So you have nice labs, You don't have 24-hour libraries. What is like? Is there anything else that you have that is?
No redeeming features, okay, Sarah. There's just no redeeming. No, we have libraries. Two main libraries that we go to, one of which isn't associated to our university. The other one is, but it's like a medical only library. So it's for all the Italian and international course, as well as being a library that's associated with one of the student accommodations. So pretty much everyone goes there. And it can be quite hard to find a spot. Otherwise, main campus does have a very, very beautiful library, but it's the problem there is that it's really hard to find power sockets. So each university library that we have has got its pros and cons, but we do have a bunch of study spots, not necessarily libraries, but study spots that you can go to, and they'll be open from 8:30 until pretty much 10 most days, but that timing can change based on whether it's study sessions or not, because during during exam periods they tend to open some of the main campus libraries a bit later.
Okay, I have to ask one final question because Sapienza has some really nice libraries, but then other libraries are very questionable. Do your toilets have toilet seats? Because
No,
they don't.
no.
Oh, it's you as well.
No,
Okay, I
it's
was
you.
wondering if it was just us.
I mean, the main campus one that I'm thinking of at Festa del Perdono, at least for the guys' toilets, doesn't have toilet seats.
Why do
And I
toilet
don't
seats not
understand
exist in
why.
Italy? Why is this not a thing here? Like, I'm really curious to know.
I mean, not all of the libraries, but that one library definitely doesn't have toilet seats. And as soon as you walk into the toilets, you'll understand why. But
Oh God, no. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So I would say that Milan and Rome pretty matched. Neither of us have toilet seats. We don't know why, but okay. Cool. So I'm just going to end this interview because it was a very, very long one. And now we have to record the second part. For anyone who did actually make it so far, I will say that we will leave a better, more organized, written up version, a link in the description, or you can go to the website up here above my head to go and see like more, I guess. I don't know. And I really recommend that you guys watch part 2 because now we're going to explore like how Rosh got into medicine, what he thinks about medicine, and more importantly, the city itself, which is how you should be making your decisions on which university in Italy to pick. Not the
yeah.
university, because I mean, if this conversation shows you anything, we're pretty matched like on everything.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I would say in some things from what you've told me today, La Sapienza is better
No,
than.
I don't believe in this idea that universities are better or worse. Like,
Like from the amenities. I mean, your first years are working with Darwin robots. I mean, that's crazy. That's
I don't. First of all, I don't know if this is true. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I'm still shook. I don't believe it because I also think that it's one of those things that's really dumb and pointless, and I find it very hard to believe that they're going to let first years play with like laparoscopic machines. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, pointless.
true. True, it is a bit pointless.
So I will wait and see. But I did show like briefly what the anatomy virtual table looks like. So you'll have to wait until the video is uploaded to see it. But
But like we said before, like you're going to spend 6 years of your life in one of these places in Italy, so make the right choice before you go. I mean, that's
100%. So I'm going to
yeah.
end the recording here and I will see the rest of you at part 2. Okay? Okay, say bye, Rosh.
Bye bye.